Morning everybody, it's Kim from Patriot Garden and I'm getting ready to plant my tea/herb garden and thought I'd bring you along. If these videos are helpful to you, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like or a comment. That would be helpful. Yesterday, I was invited to a friend's house to dig up some things from her perennial garden. And one of the things that I took from her is this wonderful lemon balm. Now, if you've never smelled lemon balm before, it smells absolutely beautiful. It does smell like fresh lemons. Now, lemon balm is great for digestive health. You can make tea from dried leaves. You can put the leaves in cold water in the summertime and just drink mint water. You can garnish with lemon balm. You can even make your own essential oils with lemon balm. I'll be leaving a lot of links down below on how to make salves and tinctures and oils with some of the herbs I'm going to talk about today. Lemon balm is supposed to be awesome for digestive health. But before I get started talking about all of the health benefits of herbs, let me just give the disclaimer that no one should be relying solely on natural remedies without checking with their doctor. Many of these herbs are great in small quantities. Many of these herbs are edible only in parts of the plant. Some of the plants that I'm going to talk about today could be toxic in large amounts. So these plants are beautiful to look at, and used in moderation, they can be helpful. If you're using them for health remedies, that you absolutely check with a doctor before you do that. One of the things I'm very excited about growing is calendula. Now, calendula is part of the daisy family. It is also part of the marigold family, and it has beautiful flowers, and it has some amazing health benefits. It's not only an anti-inflammatory, it's also high in antioxidants. Every part of the calendula plant is edible, and calendula is very high in fatty acids, which means if you make a lotion or an oil with calendula, you can use it right on your skin, and it's supposed to do things like erase lines and signs of aging and give your skin a smooth appearance. Again, I'll leave a link down below with how to make an oil with calendula. Just remember when you're making an oil to make sure that you're choosing something that is good for your skin, like a coconut oil or an avocado oil or a grapeseed oil. And also remember that when you're making oils with any of these things, it does not affect the shelf life of the oil. So check with that before you make it and then set it on a shelf. It could turn rancid on you if you're not paying attention. So this is really going to be an all-purpose herb flower that I'm really going to enjoy having in the garden. Herb flower garden would not be right without some echinacea in it. Echinacea goes by the name of coneflower. It is a beautiful flower. It's an eye-catching flower to have in your herb and perennial gardens. But echinacea is also great for immune health. Now, echinacea tea is not the best tasting tea. So very often people will mix it with mint or other herbs to kind of boost the flavor. The plants themselves are tall. They're going to add some visual anchoring to your garden. They also come in stunning colors. I think these are going to be pink. I kind of just threw some seeds in that I had. Now, every garden, right, needs some eye candy that doesn't actually have a function but looks really good. No, actually, I'm teasing this plant. This is Yarrow. Yarrow is just a beautiful plant. I love the dusty green leaves. I love the large flat flowers. And if you were watching my video on pest prevention, you heard me say that Yarrow is a great plant for attracting ladybugs, which are bugs that are very helpful in the garden for taking care of aphids. Now, yarrow can be very invasive. There's a lot of things you can do to treat plants that are invasive like this, if you would like to keep them contained. Now, in my woodland perennial garden on the other side of the house, I just plant with abandon. I don't care where things spread. I don't care where things go. I want it to look like that. I don't want it to look manicured. But I think in this tea herb garden, I'd like a little bit of organization. And so I'm not going to let this guy run wild. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plant it in a pot, but I'm going to submerge the pot. Now I'm going to have to put it in a pot that's bigger than this because, as you can see, it's already outgrown this pot. So I'll find a really big plastic pot. Now, even though I do that, the roots could come out of that pot in a year or so and start spreading to other areas of the garden. So I'll look out for that. I could line it with ag fabric, but then again, at some point I'm going to have to repot it. So there's really no way to completely contain it, but I can kind of slow down its attraction to taking over my garden. An herb garden would not be complete without chamomile, and I grew a lot of chamomile. I think I have 5 pots like this full of chamomile. Now, chamomile is also invasive, but I think I'm not going to worry so much about this because it's kind of lacy and it's not a big bold plant, so I think if it takes over the garden, or at least part of it, I'm not really worried. But I am going to separate some of these plants, and I am going to bury them in pots this size, 1 plant per pot, and then if the roots escape and it takes over, I'm not really worried. Chamomile is grown for the flowers. You're going to harvest the flowers and dry them and use them for tea, and a cup of chamomile tea at bedtime is the best thing. Now, these plants are pretty small. I started this Tulsi basil indoors, but it was a little chilly. May has not been very warm around here. So it's growing slowly, but it is growing. And Tulsi basil, otherwise known as holy basil, is not really grown for those fresh tomato mozzarella salads in the summertime. Tulsi basil is more of a fragrant tea basil. It's going to make a great addition to the herb garden. Now, I love my oregano. Oregano is a completely invasive plant, but it's low growing, and I think that it will form a great ground cover. I'm actually going to plant it along the rock wall that is edging this garden, and I'm hoping that it'll stay close to the wall. I bought 4 different kinds of oregano. I just love the way it smells. Now, oregano has great antibacterial properties, which make it a great herb for people as well as chickens. And if you watched my winter videos, you saw that in the wintertime, I often put oregano in some warm mash or warm oatmeal for them. I want them to stay healthy and free from things that will cause respiratory infection. I'm also going to be growing a lot of thyme, again, by the rock wall. I'm going to let it creep along there and do whatever it's going to do. There's so many different kinds of thyme. There's actually a creeping thyme that you can walk on. I've got a little bit of a flagstone pathway that I might experiment with some creeping thyme, but this time I'm going to use for consumption. I will eat it fresh, and I will also dry it. We use a lot of thyme in our cooking, and again, I also feed this to my chickens because it's got great health benefits for them as well. And of course, regular mint. Now, mint, again, is very invasive. I cleaned out a mint patch from my little flower garden right to my right, and I'm still pulling out shoots. In fact, there are shoots inside my fenced-in garden. So mint does not ever quit. But again, I'm going to put this in a pot, and I'm going to make sure that I keep it contained. Now, I dry mint. There's a lot of different kinds of mint. There's actually something called chocolate mint, which smells like chocolate. I'm not kidding. But it doesn't taste like chocolate. So when you dry it and you use it for tea, the taste was a little disappointing, to say the least. But I will grow it just because it smells so good. But this regular mint is great for drying. It's great for tea. It's great for mint water, great for garnishes. And my grandmother used to make a dish with green beans and mint that I'm going to see if I can replicate. Now, this year, we completely ripped out our landscaping. I mean, 20-year-old rhododendron bushes and large shrubs so that we could start over and do some interesting things in the front of the house and alongside the driveway. One of the things that I'd love to consider is elderberry. Now, elderberry is one of those things that grows naturally, especially up here in the Northeast. You can find it in the woods. It has tremendous health benefits. However, elderberry bush can be very toxic. The only things that you can consume are the berries and the flowers. The rest of the plant actually could, in large doses, create a cyanide poisoning. So you have to be very careful with elderberry. And the berries themselves cannot be consumed raw. They will at the very least create havoc with your digestive system. So you have to be very careful. I also have to worry about my chickens around elderberry, so I'm going to plan really well before I start planting them, either as shrub in the front of the house or as part of this herb garden. Elderflower can also be dried for tea. But remember, if you want the berries, then you can't harvest all of the flowers. I am looking forward to taking the berries and making syrup for cold remedies and immune health in the wintertime, and also those elderflowers for some great summer tea. Now, elderberries can grow quite large, so you have to be very careful where you put them. It's advised not to prune them for the first couple of years so that they can develop good growth. But after that, pruning out all of the old wood and keeping it at a size that is good for your garden is quite fine. All right, today the last plant I'm going to share with you that's going in my new garden is lavender. My daughter gave me this beautiful lavender pruned tree that I'll put in a pot, mostly for visual excitement in the garden. And then I have another lavender plant, and I'm not sure what kind it is because it was missing a tag, but I grabbed it because it was the last lavender plant I could find. This is going directly into the ground. Now, lavender is multi-purpose. It is a beautiful plant to have in the garden. It also can be made into fresh arrangements if you just love the smell and you just want to enjoy it while it's fresh. You can also, of course, dry it. And for the most part, it will retain its fragrance. English lavender is the most fragrant lavender. I've not had luck maintaining that beautiful fragrance with many other varieties after they're dried. Now, you can encourage a second flowering of these lavender plants simply by cutting off the blossoms. Don't prune stems, just cut the blossoms off. It should give you a second flowering for the season. So when planning your herb and tea garden, not only plan for the things that you think you'll like to drink as a tea, or you'll like to save, or you'll like to dry, or things that are important to your cooking or the health of your animals, but also things that will help create a cohesive visual appearance for your garden. Different colors of green, shiny leaves, dusty leaves, different colors of flowers, so that your garden will look diverse. And also remember the different things flower at different times. So balancing the different plants so that you always have some color in your garden is important. Now, I'm not sure if I will mulch the garden or not. I mulch my vegetable garden with hay. That wouldn't really be attractive here in the tea garden. So what I think I'm going to do is do a little bit more research on mulching, but mulching will help me keep down my watering. It will also give the garden a nice polished look. So now I'm going to get started planting all of this stuff, and I'll let you check out the garden when it's all finished. So have a great day, everybody, and I really hope that you'll find some spot in your garden to grow some of these beautiful plants. Happy gardening.